Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Season 2, Episode 17, Newtralized. This is a really good episode. It was cool to see Slash come back in, and it was really interesting to see how different of a character he was compared to the first time we saw him, where he was mutated from the tiny little turtle that Raphael had to this giant turtle that was just like 10 times bigger than the other turtles. And obviously that's an exaggeration, but he's huge compared to them. They're all sleek and skinny and ninja like, and even though he is still much like them, he does have ninja qualities. He's huge. He's just bulky, and even his shell is just full of spikes. He's spiky, as his name originally was. He's just full of spikes. He's really ragged and stuff, and he's just the brute force character amongst these skinny, agile turtles. And in this episode, it was really interesting to see him evolve into a character that is more like a good guy. He's probably more neutral than anything at this point, but you could clearly see that he cared about humans. He didn't want to blow people up or cause humans any harm, but he was destroying the Krang with the Neutralizer, and the Neutralizer didn't give a crap. He was destroying the Krang at any cost, and even though Slash said that to him when he was rescued, he didn't have that same thought process as time went on. And it was a great episode with them in it. And I'm really curious about the ending that happened where the Neutralizer's teleporter messed up, so he came back, and it was kind of like he was sort of torn in dimensions and stuff. So it might mutate him, it might do something and change him, or it was just him coming back. But it seemed like it was a bit more than him just teleporting back, because it seemed like it messed up. So it could be something with the plutonium and the teleportation. It could mutate him even further. Or I guess technically mutate him, because he's from another dimension, so that could have been what he just looked like. So I'm curious about how that's going to affect his character, and we might not even get to see that until like the next season or something like that, because they really space out the villain characters, where we'll see him here and then we won't see them for like 5 or 6 more episodes, so we might not see him this season again. But good episode even without that. And of course, the other side, we got Casey and Ralph with their classic fighting. They introduced that a while ago, where they sort of argue with each other, and it's obviously more Donatello arguing with Casey than anyone else, because they both like April. But in this one, we got sort of the classic team up where Raphael and Casey are the ones who team up and they go out beating up people, but they argue with each other left and right, and then they finally, have their moment at the end of this episode when Casey proves that he can keep up with the turtles and help them out. And one of the coolest things about this episode is that he actually said Gungula, because that's kind of his saying when they say Cowabunga or Booyakasha in this one, which they did throw in Cowabunga in this episode at the Cowabunga skate shop, which I thought was really cool. And maybe they did that because they were putting that's their original phrasing, and they put that in because they knew they were going to have Casey say Gungula in this episode. And I thought that was really cool. And him kind of saving the day was really sweet, and he made a really cool shot that would be almost impossible to make. But it was just really cool to see him in this episode, and even though he got beat up most of the time, he did in the end prove that he was really cool and he's able to do what he can do, because he has the skills and he's not just slowing the turtles down. But it was a really cool action episode. Interesting story, like I said. I was surprised to see Slash be such a good guy in this episode when I knew he was going to be in it. I thought it was just going to be a great episode because it was going to be really dramatic, like the original one, where Raphael had to deal with. In that one, he obviously had to choose because it was the first time, but in this one, it would just be Slash being really angry at Raphael, and he would be working with Casey, and they'd be basically just taking on Slash again. But it was really interesting to see his change, and I'm excited to see how his character does develop, and just where he goes, where his character goes, and what his character does. But good episode. It had its funny moments, of course. All the arguing with Casey and Raphael was fairly dramatic. There were some points where it was funny, like when he was talking about his skills being magical or majestic. I thought that was really funny. That was a good scene. But it was a great episode, and of course, comment below, let me know what you guys thought of it, your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And since Slash was in this episode and Neutralizer is sort of coming back in a really weird way, where do you guys want to see their characters go? What do you want to see Slash do, and what do you want to happen in Neutralizer? Do you want him to have a mutation where he's bigger and badder and stuff like that, or what do you guys want to see? And of course, you probably know if you read the comic books, because they do take a lot out of the comics. They are very, I guess, comic centric. They do go from the source. It's not strict. It's not straight from the source because some things are different, like Splinter's origin and things like that. But they're doing some pretty good stuff, and they're keeping the main heart of this show, the main heart of the story at least, in this show. So, what do you guys want to see for Slash and Neutralizer, as well as Casey? Like, what do you guys want to see him advance to? Because we've seen him do some pretty crazy stuff. Like when he first really showed some of the crazy stuff he has. He had like the little electricity glove. He had some. I think he had like a flamethrower set up on his bike, or well, I mean, it was just a spray can, but it was like a flamethrower on his bike. And in this one, he put little fireworks, or I guess they were like M80s. I wouldn't know, but little powerful fireworks on his hockey puck. So what do you guys want to see him advance in as well, as far as technique and what silly moves and items he might come up with? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.